So I find that a lot of women don't define burnout in their life. They don't define the busyness in their life. They don't define what's going on in their body in their life. It's not something they want to accept, especially burnout. But when they start talking to me, as a client did today, all of the red flags were there. All of the signals were there. Welcome to the Life Coaching for Mompreneurs podcast, where you will learn simple solutions to win at work without losing at home. Hi, my name is Martine Williams, and I am your host and CEO, your Chief Encouragement Officer. And this podcast is your one-stop shop to creating a burnout-proof life and business by elevating your clarity, confidence, and courage. Friends, it's time to say goodbye to being the yes girl, to procrastinating on your goals and living in overwhelm. And it's time to say hello to creating healthy boundaries, healthy mindsets, and healthy habits so that you can achieve work-life harmony. Your next breakthrough starts here. This is the Life Coaching for Mompreneurs podcast. Let's do this. Well, hey friends, and welcome back to Life Coaching for Mompreneurs. I am excited today to kind of open up a new series that I'm going to be doing here on the podcast. It's honestly been an idea that has been sitting in my notes app on my phone for a while now, and it just feels like the right time to talk about this and to bring this series to life. And it was really inspired by one of my clients in a conversation that I had with her today. So I want to take a moment to tell you why I'm starting this short series that I'm calling the Big B Words Conversation. This is a series about helping high achieving women listen to what their lives are telling them before burnout forces the conversation. The Big B Word conversations are where we talk about the things high achieving women feel that you might be feeling, but you're not always saying it out loud. And I want this to be, even though it's a podcast, it's not us having a conversation together, I do hope that you feel and you resonate with these are some things you've probably been thinking and feeling, but you haven't said out loud yet. And so maybe I'm the one that's going to help you say them out loud. But so many of us are strong, we're capable, we're disciplined women, and we know how to push, we know how to hold it all together. And because of that, we often miss the early signals that something needs attention. So B words like burnout, busy, boundaries, beliefs, body, and belonging. These words aren't problems to fix. They're signals to interpret. And over the next few episodes, we're going to slow these conversations down and talk about what's really happening underneath them without shame, without pressure, and without telling you to burn your life to the ground in order to feel better, or that you have to wait until you're through maybe burnout or through the busyness to feel better. Because that can sometimes just feel like it's never going to end. As I talked about in a previous episode, when we put a demand on when we should be through something. So it's just creating awareness and understanding what's happening underneath without the shame and pressure of where you are right now. So I find that a lot of women don't define burnout in their life. They don't define the busyness in their life. They don't define what's going on in their body, in their life. It's not something they want to accept, especially burnout. But when they start talking to me, as a client did today, all of the red flags were there. All of the signals were there. And in an effort to not disappoint me as her coach or disappoint her family, it's almost like there was some shame around where she was and what she's experiencing. And so what happens when we have shame? We block wisdom and we hide, and then we probably don't do anything about it. So I want these conversations on all of these B words to hopefully open up your mind, give you a different perspective, and give you some real tangible things to do moving forward, and so maybe some things to stop doing. So this isn't about doing less for the sake of doing less. It's about leading yourself differently. I've been talking about that pretty extensively here on the podcast about self-leadership and how to lead yourself differently in the seasons of life. So if you're someone who's showing up, you're still achieving, you're still managing, but you feel tired in a way that rest just hasn't solved, this series is for you. And today we're starting the Big B Word series with one of the most talked about and the most misunderstood experiences for high achieving women, and it is burnout. So that's the first one we're going to talk about today. Today's episode is one that I have taught on, I have coached, I have lived through personally, and honestly, it feels especially important right now because of the conversations that I'm having with the women and the clients that I work with and what I'm seeing even out and about. I mean, the world is, there's just so much going on in the world that can really pull on our emotions and kind of put us in a different perspective, a different frame of mind, a different line of actions. And because burnout is one of those words that gets thrown around casually, it's almost become accepted to just live in burnout. Like if you're a new mom with a new baby and you're running a business, like burnout just comes with that. And I just don't believe that. I believe there's a better way. And we just have to be really honest with ourselves and where we're at and what we're thinking and what we're feeling. And we have to let other people know that as well. But when it becomes casually just thrown around, it's almost like watered down. But when you're in it, you know it's anything but casual. When you're in the burnout and you finally see it for what it is, like it's very real and it feels very real in the moment. And here's what I want to say right out of the gate, that burnout is not a sign that you're weak. I really felt that through my client's conversation today. Is it almost felt like a sign of weakness for her that she was where she was at. So it's not a sign that you're weak. It's not a sign that you can't handle pressure. And it's definitely not a sign that you're doing life or business wrong. It's information. It's like that check engine light coming on your car, on your vehicle. And when we learn how to read that information instead of judging ourselves for it, everything changes. So I want to just normalize that we all have had seasons of burnout. And it used to be one of like the primary, and I still do when I interview, I ask ladies, like, have you experienced burnout? What did it look like for you? Because not only is it something that almost everyone that I've interviewed has experienced, it also looks very different for people. So for some, it's just like a lack of inspiration, a lack of motivation. For others, it's physical exhaustion. For others, it's mental exhaustion, but it shows up in different ways. So I just want to clear up some confusion first about what it actually is and what it's not. And when I've taught this in a webinar format before, or I've taught it from stage before, these signs and symptoms of burnout always get people's attention because they're just not what they're thinking about and how they would define burnout. But what it's not is it's not laziness, it's not a lack of motivation, and it's not something that you fix with a better planner or a longer to-do list. It shows up when the demands on your life consistently exceed your capacity. When you hear capacity, I want you to think emotionally, mentally, physically, or spiritually. And sometimes it's all of those are being taxed and being demanded upon. And so when those demands exceed your capacity to hold it, this is where it comes in. So in my work and in my kind of fireproof your life framework, burnout often looks like this. It's checking out emotionally from your life of your business or your business. You're just kind of checking out, like just checking out. All the things you used to do, you're just like, nope, not doing that. The second one is isolating yourself because everything feels like too much. Like you just don't want to be around people. Like if you're normally a very social person, you're probably removing yourself from groups. You're probably not engaging in the groups as much. You're probably not wanting to have conversations even with the people in your own home. So you're kind of isolating yourself. Another one is overreacting to small things that normally wouldn't bother you. So overreacting to everyday situations is a telltale sign that you're on your way or you're in burnout. Constant exhaustion, even after rest. So this is the one that most people would associate with burnout, but it's not the only one. Extreme or irrational thinking. This was a conversation that I was having with my client this week, and she was like, I was literally on Zillow looking for houses in a different state or in a different city. And that's that extreme irrational thinking, like, I got to get out of here to feel better, and wanting to uproot her entire family and move to a different place. Or I want to get rid of all of my clients, or I want to cut my client load in half. Like all of those are extreme or irrational thoughts that you're having. And it's a time to check in. It's definitely not a time to make a decision on any of that. And so we talked through like, what would it be like just to give yourself through the end of this month to not make any decisions, any major decisions while you're in this season of burnout. And it could just also be like if you find yourself saying, well, I'll never be successful or I'll always be this way, or like the always and the never words are also telltale signs of like that extreme irrational thinking. Maybe you're making mistakes you normally wouldn't make. Maybe you're forgetting things. Maybe you're experiencing like brain fog. Things like that can also be associated with burnout. Or maybe you've just lost that loving feeling for the things you used to deeply care about. So I don't know if you're like checking the box or checking when I'm hearing or sharing these symptoms with you, but these are some of those signs of burnout that I want you to be watching for. And maybe there's one, two, or three that you're experiencing right now. And that's the time to lean in and to check in, not to avoid, not to perform through it, get busy so you don't have to deal with it. No, like let's lean into this because it's not a character flaw. This is your system like waving a flag. This is your body saying it's time for a meeting. Burnout isn't always doing too much. It's often about doing too much without alignment, support, or recovery. And that's a big one for ambitious women. Like we don't allow for recovery very much. We meet a goal, we celebrate the goal, maybe celebrate the goal, and then we're moving on to the next one. So it can be one or more of a combination of those things that's creating it for you. So why do we miss the signs? Why do high achieving women miss the signs? And this is why. It's because the effort has always worked for you, right? You're responsible, you're reliable, you know how to push through. And so that's what's worked for you. So instead of listening to the early warning signs, you normalize it and you tell yourself, I'll rest later. This is just a busy season. I should be able to handle this. And except for the shoulds, all of those things could be true. It could just be a season, and you don't have to wait for the circumstance to change for you to work through your burnout. I think that's the lie we believe. So, burnout doesn't happen overnight. It builds quietly when we ignore our limits long enough, when we explain away the irritability, when we explain away the isolation, when we explain away the emotional exhaustion, when we explain away the irrational thoughts, we just, that's where it builds quietly over time. And here's the part that matters. You are your greatest asset, which is what I reminded my client of today. Like you are the asset to your business, to your family, first and foremost, to yourself. Like you are your greatest asset, not your business, not your productivity, not your output, you. So, what needs to come off the plate right now? And we're going to talk about that in a future episode. But what needs to come off the plate right now was my question to her. Like, what are the things that only you can do or need to do right now? And where can you outsource some of the other things? Because you're your greatest asset right now and you are depleted right now. And when that asset isn't protected, everything downstream suffers. Your marriage suffers, your business suffers, your clients suffer. So, what not to do when you are in burnout, and this part is important, is pushing harder. It's going to be kind of your default as a highly ambitious woman. If I can just push harder and get through onto the other side. What also doesn't work is adding more discipline without addressing the misalignment. Like, where is the misalignment happening? Because you can throw all the discipline in the world on it, but if it's not in alignment, then that can create burnout. Remember, burnout's not just from doing too much, it's doing from too little that lights you up, that's not aligned with the life and the business you're trying to create. So you can slap discipline on all of those things, but if it's not in alignment, it's not going to work. Numbing with distractions, waiting for motivation to return, telling yourself you'll deal with it after this season. Like none of those things are going to work because burnout doesn't respond to pressure. It responds to clarity and care. It responds to the slowing down and looking at the situation and deciding what your next step is. And it might be rest. It might be realignment, recalibrating. It might be saying no to some things. But until you slow down long enough to look at it, you're just going to keep chasing the ball and chasing after the piece that you think is on the other side of that hustle, when really on the other side of that hustle is just more hustle. Hey, friend, let's talk. It's time to book your clarity call. We are going to spend 1 full hour focused on you. A clarity call isn't about pressure. It's about possibilities. It's about you. You having a space to talk through what's on your heart and mind, you walking away with a clear vision and practical next steps, and you feeling confident in what's next and how to get there. You don't need to have it all figured out. That's my job. All you need to do is show up and we'll figure it out together. This is the best hour you can invest in yourself right now. Not in 6 months from now, not next month, right now. And don't just take my word for it. Here's what one of my coaching clients had to say after working together.
Working with Martine was truly a game changer for both my life and my business. She challenged me to step outside of my comfort zone and helped me clearly identify the areas where I was feeling the most resistance, and then guided me in creating solutions that actually fit my personality and my working style. What I appreciate most is how genuine and grounded she is in every conversation, and how naturally she blends life and business guidance together. As a female business owner, a mom, and now a dear friend, I deeply value the time, care, and energy she invested in me during our weekly sessions. Ending each week with clarity, momentum, and a reset mindset was incredibly powerful. The lessons and perspective I gained will stay with me for years to come. And I'm excited to see how my business continues to grow because of her support and direction. I'm so grateful for her coaching, encouragement, and the steady presence through one of the most challenging seasons of my business. As a sole provider for our family, signing up for coaching with Martine was one of the best investments I've ever made for both myself and for my business.
That transformation, it starts with one conversation. It's time to stop spinning your wheels and start making real progress. So head right now to martinewilliams.com or in the show notes and grab your private clarity call spot on my calendar before they're gone. And since I personally monitor my inbox, if you don't see a time slot that fits your calendar, just send me an email at martinewilliams.com with free times that do work, and I will make it work for you. All right, friend, let's get back to the show. So, what does help? What does allow you to fireproof your life? There are 5 core areas that help you to protect your greatest asset. The first one is clarity. Burnout thrives in mental clutter. When everything feels urgent, nothing feels grounded. So clarity asks, what actually matters right now? Which is what I was talking to my client about today. What am I carrying that isn't mine? What decision have I been avoiding? As I often say, clutter is often a sign of indecisiveness. So maybe there are just a bunch of decisions that you have been indecisive about that are causing this weight. What are the decisions you can make right now? The second one is priorities. If everything is a priority, then nothing really is. And burnout happens when your calendar doesn't match your values, when everyone else's needs outrank your own. And this is deeply important for moms who are outpouring all day long. It happens when you're giving away your energy to everyone and everything else and giving nothing to yourself. You cannot pour from an empty cup. The third one is beliefs. This is where we catch, check, and change the thoughts that are keeping us stuck. The thoughts of like, I can't slow down, or my business will dissolve. If I rest, everything will fall apart, or I should be able to handle this. And y'all, I've said all of these things, even in the last 2 weeks. So just know this is normal. It's, I should say, common, but not normal. There's a difference. So it's common that this comes up in entrepreneurship. This is common that this comes up in motherhood, but it's not, doesn't have to be your norm. Doesn't have to be your normal. So those beliefs don't make you stronger. They keep you exhausted. So what beliefs do you need to catch, check, and change so that you can move from burnout to breakthrough? The fourth one is habits. We can't have uphill dreams with downhill habits. And burnout is often isn't about what you don't know. It's about what you're practicing daily without realizing the cost. What is it costing you? What is it costing you to keep moving forward in your business without support? Yeah, it's going to cost you to invest, but what is it costing you now in your peace, in your productivity, in your achievement of your goals, in your desires to do it alone, to try and do it alone? So what is it costing you? Count the cost. And the last one is strengths, knowing how you're wired, your energy, your decision-making style, your natural traits, that matters. Because this is like the burnout that most people don't realize that they're in is coming from this. This is a conversation that I had with my client today was her life as she has it right now as a mom. She has two kids and then she has a baby, a new baby. Like all of her natural traits are being challenged right now. She's having to make adjustments. Her predictable schedule is now a little more unpredictable because she has a baby who's not sleeping through the night. And that all feels very draining to her. But it doesn't mean that she's bad mom or that she's not doing it right. It's just how she's wired is being challenged right now. It's causing energy drain for her to make those adjustments. And when you understand this, and I'm going to do a whole webinar on energy management versus time management, it changes the game when you know how you're wired. It stops the self-sabotage, it stops the self-comparison, it stops the constant redoing of your time management and all of those things. When you build a life that fights your wiring, burnout isn't a surprise to me. It's inevitable. It's going to happen when you're constantly not in your lane and you don't know how to work with your wiring and understand your wiring, but you're working against it. Burnout is just inevitable at that point. This is why a lot of employees leave companies because they're not in the right seat in that company. And the company doesn't understand this, and the employee doesn't understand this. And so employee retention is down because of that. So when someone truly understands their natural strengths and what environments are like most aligned with that, it changes the game, not only for the employee, but also for the employer. It changes the game for you as a mom and in your relationships. It changes the game for you in entrepreneurship. So here's a distinction that I want to make clear about self-care, because this is also part of the conversation when it comes to burnout. It isn't just bubble baths or time off. Like that might help you a little bit, but it's self-care is so much more than that. It's any intentional activity that supports your mental, emotional, and physical health. And the key word in that definition is intentional. Your self-care, success in your self-care is not an accident. It has to be intentionally put on your calendar and blocked and protected, just like you would an appointment for your child, just like you would an appointment for a client, just like you probably would for your own hair appointment. You have to be intentional about creating those self-care moments, those CEO self-care days. Sometimes that means setting boundaries. Setting boundaries is a huge form of self-care. Maybe it's making uncomfortable choices. That's self-care. Removing toxic patterns or toxic relationships. Choosing alignment over appearances. That's a big one. Kind of felt a little when I said that one. Building a life that feels good, not just looks good. That is what true self-care is. And it's not just self-care, it's actually self-leadership. It's adulting, it's parenting yourself. And burnout is often the result of abandoning yourself for too long, putting yourself on the back burner for too long, or not even on a burner at all at this point. So here's a gentle check-in for you. Let me ask you a few questions. No fixing and no judging. Where am I running on empty right now? Where are you running on empty right now? What have you been tolerating that's costing you energy? What would it look like to protect yourself the way you protect your business, the way you protect your children and your relationship with your children? What would it look like to protect you, the asset, in that way? Burnout isn't asking you to quit. It's asking you to lead yourself differently. And this is like the lie from the enemy. Like, if he can't make you bad, he'll make you busy. And we're going to talk about that in a different episode. But the lie is that you have all or nothing. You're either all in the business or you quit. And that's not what burnout is asking of you. It's asking you to lead differently. It's asking you to show up differently. So if you find yourself in that all or nothing mentality, which it also can be a sign of burnout, it's like, okay, what is the middle ground here? It doesn't have to be so black and white. It doesn't have to be all or nothing. It can be, for today, I'm going to get up, I'm going to get ready, I'm going to have my coffee, and I'm going to go get out of the house for an hour. That might be it for today. It might be, I'm going to get up, I'm going to have my coffee, I'm going to get ready, and I'm going to journal for the day. And then maybe I'm going to make a client call, or I'm going to do one thing in my business, and then that's going to be enough for today. Depending on how far into your burnout you are and how deep you are into it determines some of these action steps that you can take, but it starts with asking the right questions. Where are you running on empty right now? What's draining you the most? What have you been tolerating that's costing you energy? What can you outsource? What would it look like to protect myself the way I protect my business? So when we ask quality questions, we get quality answers, and then you can take the next step from there. But it's not all or nothing. It's not I'm all in on my business or I'm out. It's like the start, stop, the gas or all brakes. So I can tend to get into this. And so it's where I've learned to slow down and just ask better questions. I've learned to slow down and ask other people to come in and support me and ask questions and help me to see things from a different perspective, which I shared about in a previous episode about the demands I was putting on the timeline with grief and how that was burning me out. It was the frustration and the resistance of just allowing the season to be what it is. So the more you resist the burnout and you're frustrated by the burnout, and the more you like even avoid or deny that you're in burnout, the longer you're going to stay there. And I know you don't want that. And I don't want that for you, because every day that you live in burnout is a day you can't get back. And we're not guaranteed another day. So that's why I'm on mission to help women entrepreneurs to stop performing their life and start leading their life. It's why I want to help you to win at work without losing at home. It's why I want you to fireproof your life. So if this resonated with you, if you're tired, if you're overwhelmed, you're disconnected, I want you to know again, you're not broken. You're human. You are human. And you're in a season right now. And that season will change and it will pass. But there are some things you can do to help it. You might be overdue for recalibration, not more pressure. The more pressure you put on yourself to get through it, to be better, to think differently, like just some of the comments that my client was saying, like there was so much like self-criticism in the way she's like, I did a horrible job this week managing my brain. I'm like, welcome to life. There are weeks where I don't do a great job of managing my brain. It's okay. There's no judgment. It's just now we know that when you're in like a sign or signal of you being in burnout is that you go to the extreme and you want to uproot your family and you want to move to a different city. Like that's a sign. But there were probably some other signs prior to that. And that's why I wanted to do this episode. So you can start noticing the signs sooner and stop yourself before it gets too bad. And for some people, it takes a hospital visit, and I don't want that for you. So protect the asset, because when you do, everything else works better. And if you want support walking through this in a grounded, personalized way, I invite you to book a clarity call. You can go to martinewilliams.com/clarity and book that clarity call. And if you're not on my email list, my VIP Glow Up email list, I have an email that goes out every single Monday. I'd love for you to join that too, so you know about upcoming, the webinar I was telling you about. I have some live local, or I might go on tour sometime this year. But if you want to know about all the things that I'm doing and where you can connect with me, whether it's getting into the coaching or attending one of my events, you want to be on my email list. So you can go to martinewilliams.com and you can join the VIP email list there. So until next time, I'm believing in you always, and I will catch you in the next episode. Well, that's a wrap, friends. Thank you for tuning in to today's episode. I really hope it met you right where you are and gave you some encouragement for your day. Could you do me the biggest favor and leave me a rating and review? Seriously, it's the best way for you to support the show. And while you're there, be sure to follow the show so you never miss an episode. Thanks again. And until next time, I am believing in you always.